it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, our hostess for this weekend. You all know who she is. Well, by a show of hands, how many have read Me and Lee? Virtually everybody. How many of you have seen episode 8 of The Men Who Killed Kennedy? Oh, we have some hands. So that means that some of you are going to be going out of here and watching it, and I highly recommend it. So Judyth Berry Baker was in a relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald back in the summer of 1963. They met, they had a whirlwind romance, and they worked on a top secret program to develop a biological cancer to kill Fidel Castro. How many of you knew that? So as if the JFK assassination wasn't complex enough, along comes Judyth Berry Baker to tell us some story that I absolutely, with 100%, believe with every fiber of my being, just make it all the more complicated. But she's going to try and sort it out a little bit tonight. If you haven't looked at all of those materials, Me and Lee, now her new book, and then The Men Who Killed Kennedy, I strongly encourage you to do so. One of the things I love about Judyth is she is so approachable at these conferences. Anybody and everybody, she tries to make you feel at home. She was passing out, breakfasts after the fact to make sure that you were taken care of. She loves you, she cares about you, and she really wants you to know who she is. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to Judyth Berry Baker.
Wow, thank you so much. And if I get behind here, you won't be able to see me at all, probably, so get over here. Being short had its advantages back then, because Lee at 5'9" was actually the average size. You're going to hear he's a little guy. That was exactly the average size height of a male in 1963 in the United States. But they want to diminish him as much as they can, okay? And many, many rotten things were said about him, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I want to tell you most personal things this time because I am having some vision problems, and I'm afraid I won't be able to interact like I want to with you. And I'm probably gonna have to be Zoom from now on, unless I can get my eyes fixed, okay? So, and you guys, a lot of you contributed to saving my left eye a few years ago. But that doesn't mean I can see very well, at least I can, and sometimes because of the bad things that have been going on, I'm almost glad I can't see it all right? We have some really bad things happening. And I am very proud of the people here. I'm just going to say it out loud, the people who have decided to be independent and to think for themselves concerning how they're handling the virus that was supposed to kill everybody, last year. And we are here. And I don't know about you, but the only people in my family who got COVID twice or got COVID at all, they also got all the shots. If anyone wants to talk to me about what's really going on with all that, I'm not going to do it publicly because I don't want to be kicked off the internet or anything. But I will talk to you privately about what's the matter with using messenger RNA for any kind of, this is not a vaccine. Vaccines are different. They have to do with killed viruses and so on, okay? This is not the same thing at all. So if anyone wants to talk to me later in private, I will tell you my opinion, so I won't be hauled off to jail or something. Okay, all right. Now on to the facts. And I am allergic to juniper. So yeah, I'm gonna be sniffling a little bit. But one of the reasons I didn't want to stay in Texas. But I'll tell you another thing. I wanted to stay in Texas after Lee Oswald was murdered. I had all 5 of my babies were born here. And that was really to honor him. It was easy to manipulate my husband to have us move to Texas. All I had to do was say it was cheaper to live here than in Florida. If you've read my book, you understand that this man, when you let me buy new shoes, he had to keep a close record of everything. And by the way, even after we were married a while, and it was safest to stay married to him. And don't get me wrong, I loved him, but I loved him in a physical way. Lee Oswald loved him in every way. There's a big difference, big difference. Lee was far more intelligent than he is made out. They have tried to say that they show ugly photos of him. They actually, as I've shown in other videos and things, actually retouched his mouth so that he made it look like he's smiling. You blow it up and you see he was frowning, and they took and put, marks to make him look like he's smiling. And you can see them. You'll see them in my book, again. Now, I am talking now about the cameras, because the original files, when they showed these cameras, the FBI, and then it was the Dallas police and so on. When they first showed these cameras to Marina, she didn't recognize anything but the ones that Lee Oswald owned. She recognized this as belonging to Lee. Later, Ruth Payne said, "Oh no, it's mine." Okay, weeks later. Now understand that Ruth Payne was showing this is stereo. Lee Oswald is taking three-dimensional photos. It takes two photos at once, and he makes 3D pictures way back in '63. And he was so interested in photography, he got this realist, this is a stereo, okay? Camera, they went on sale just when the Polaroids came out. So he was able to get this at a good price. And that just shows you what kind of cameras he wanted. So he had many, many stereo photos. And he had a stereo viewer, just like you had. Remember that you could go and like snap it and you see these 3D? It went on a reel. And he made reels like that. Now, so when they were saying, who does this camera belong to? The first round, okay? She didn't mark it that it belonged to her, because she darn well knew it belonged to Lee. After he's dead, then she said it was hers, okay? Why? Because Lee Oswald is not supposed to have nice cameras. He's supposed to be stupid. And he's supposed to have made a backyard photos, okay, with an inferior camera. Now here's the camera. This is Imperial Reflex piece of junk, okay, that he's supposed to have taken pictures that he wants to send to a magazine or a newspaper, when he had really good cameras. He had, I have an Imperial Reflex camera here that has all the pieces in it, but I have other cameras. I've shown them other times. He had a Sierra, one from Soviet Union, easy to adapt, to make photos with. You just clip a little piece off, and he knew how to do all that stuff. What I'm trying to say is that Lee Oswald did not, the whole story is that his brother said, Lee Oswald, his brother, he says, Lee gave me this camera before he went to USSR to hold on to and keep for him. Wait a minute. What about the stereo camera? Who kept that? Well, he did too, right? Supposedly. Now, here's the problem. When Lee Oswald comes back, he doesn't just, according to Robert Oswald, his brother, who got compromised along the way because of Marina, and that's another story. He said that when Lee came back, he asked for the camera back, okay? Why would he ask for it back when he had really nice cameras that could take fantastic pictures? George and Morenshill said, I looked at his photos, they're really good. He did panoramic views of the city of Minsk and all kinds of things. They were framed. All these nice framed photos have vanished. We do not have them. What they confiscated them, what, destroyed them, because this man is not supposed to use nice cameras and have nice photos. He's supposed to use this cruddy thing with a plastic lens. And so we have Marina Oswald. Can somebody come up here, please? I need a woman. Come on. I need a woman up. Not for me, I don't need a woman. I need a woman for the camera. Okay, can someone come up, please? Just really fast. Thank you very much. This is a lady who's really fast on her feet. Okay, now I'm going to pretend that you don't know a thing about this camera, that you're Marina Oswald, don't know a thing, and I'm asking you to take a picture of me. I am the backyard photo. I'm just about as genuine as what they put in the backyard photos anyway, as Lee Oswald, okay? So you're going to take a picture of me. Please go ahead. And how would you do that? Okay, all right, there, stop. Don't move. Keep that, no, keep that at, again. Marina said that's what she did for 3 photos or more, okay? 1, 2, 3. All right, come up to me and I'm gonna, so I come to you and I'm gonna fix this to the next thing and tell you how to move the thing, because she's supposed to be so stupid she doesn't know how to turn this knob. So then I give it back to you to take another picture. Go ahead. All right. All right, then I'm gonna do it again. All right, this time I'm gonna look like Lee Oswald leaning, okay. So then again, I turn it for you because you're too stupid to turn it yourself. Okay, and then I'm gonna go lean, take my picture, okay? Yeah, okay. Now, that's what Marina showed the Warren Commission. Now I'm gonna show you how you use the camera and why, yeah, don't go anywhere, stay here. To use the camera, you have to open this thing at the top.
Hold your mic.
All right, thank you. You have to open this thing at the top. Let's see if I can do that. I haven't handled this for a while. There is some way to do it. I haven't handled it for a while. Maybe it doesn't work on this one. All right, anyway, I'll tell you what, this opens and you see a viewfinder. You see a viewfinder. All right. Maybe you can find it. The viewfinder is, it's my vision. My vision is pretty bad right now, and it's not the same as it was. This is it. This comes right up. It's supposed to snap right up. See this little?
Yes.
Yeah. See that? There we go. This viewfinder. See the viewfinder? That's. Guess where you have to hold it? Here.
Right.
Down here. Marina Oswald said, "Oh, I looked at it through here." If you think that she really took 3 photos up here when she had to have it down here in order to use it, she did not know. She's going along with her husband is dead. And by the way, later she said, "Oh, I took the pictures from a different direction." She was under oath and she can't change her story, okay? Or she could go to jail. She can't change her story. But she did say, "Oh, I took it from a different direction. He was over there." Those, in other words, those weren't the same pictures. That's the only way things she could say to kind of get out of it. So she tells everybody she took the backyard photos because she went under oath. And this is a murder case, okay? So the point is this woman, and thank you very much, this woman never took the pictures, or you would have remembered. It is too rare. At that time, everybody was doing this, but with this cruddy old camera, it was down here, okay? And she did not know. How many of you knew that? Raise your hand. You may have already known it. 1, 2 people? All right, you see, that's why I wanted to tell you, all right? Because everybody thinks they know who's, all right, that's the one thing about the imperial reflex camera. It takes 720 film. Here's the second thing I want you to know. The 720 film, Lee Oswald, every stuff he had, it was either the stereo film also used 720 film. And this used 720 film. Whole bunch of pictures that Lee should have had. They're all missing. There are almost no photos. This guy's supposed to be a photographer. And somehow the Dallas police going through, they only find a couple of pictures, a few pictures. And lo and behold, most of them are made with this cruddy camera. Where are his stereo pictures and all that he was doing, that George and Warren saw and so on? We do not know. They vanished along with 2 of Lee's 3 sea bags. Gone. All right, gone. Where are the sea bags? We know they existed because Dutz Moretz and his wife Lillian, that was Lee's aunt, and that's where Lee said he put, and she says in the Warren Commission, she had at least 3 sea bags of his. We only had 1. And by the way, that sea bag itself, they only show 1 in the Payne garage right now. That Payne garage, I have so much to tell you about. But you've got to tell me when to quit talking, okay? Thank you. All right, I will keep talking. All right, so here's what we've got going on. We have an imperial reflex camera and a 720 film. We go way back and we find it. Ruth Payne has a ton of 720 photos. They never checked those 720 photos to see if they had the scratches on them that were same as the scratches they said were on the backyard photos. Understand that they located the backyard photos scratches because they took some photos with this thing, and it made, because it's so cruddy, it made some scratches on the side. They could match that. They had over 300 photos of Ruth Payne's of 720 film, and they didn't check any one of them for scratches to see if it came out of this camera. Why do I think this camera belonged to Ruth Payne? Because she had, it was Ruth Hyde, this pile of photos that were 720 that they never checked. How odd they didn't check to see if they had any scratches. This was said Ruth Hyde. So these were happened before she was married. And that comes right at the same time that Robert Oswald says that Lee went off, to the USSR. Right then is when Ruth Payne would have made her photos, okay, with this camera the same year. Now, I can't prove that Ruth Payne's photographs ever were taken with this 720 film that has scratches, because somehow all those photos after they came back from the Dallas police got stolen, and they don't exist anymore with the Paynes. They all got lost. So nobody could ever check to find out if any of those photos, folks, how many things can get lost? The other thing they said that got lost, they had, Lee had and Minox, which I saw with my own eyes. I handled it once. I saw it, I talk about it. He only showed it to me twice. It was so small. It was smaller than a candy bar. It took wonderful photos, clear photos. And we know that the FBI actually took and developed photos. It says they came from Lee. It says they were Minox photos, but they wouldn't admit that the camera, the Minox camera that Gus Rose found in the sea bag of Lee Oswald, that Minox took the pictures. And we'll never know, because the Minox that is on file at the National Archives is filled with plastic stuff, so you cannot see the serial number when you open it. It is locked up, so you can't. Why? The serial numbers that the government used and the serial numbers that are used for civilian Minox are different. How many of you knew that? All right, that's the Minox that's on display in the National Archives. We cannot see the serial number. Aren't they nice? Aren't they being good? We get to see an exhibit. And then, you know what the Payne said? They said that, oh, we had the Minox. That is our Minox. And it was in a coffee can. It was not even noticed after 3 or 4 or 5 rounds of the police going through the garage. And somehow they missed this coffee can that had this old Minox in it. It was messed up by seawater and all that. And so they take that and they try to say that was the Minox, and it has a serial number in it, okay? But they're not going to let you see the serial number of the one in the National Archives. But that didn't work very well, because Michael Payne and Ruth Payne suddenly said, oh, it got stolen. We don't have it anymore. So what's at the National Archives? It has to, if it got stolen, it's either FBI stole it, put on a display, but they didn't want you to see it. Something's going on. You see very carefully how Lee Oswald was framed. Now I'm going to go on. There is a peculiar thing, is that Lee did not want any photos taken of his wife or me, for good reason, because I opposed Marina Oswald in New Orleans. Lee did not want any photos. However, Ruth Payne came up with some photos and made with a Minox camera that suddenly ended up somehow in the Oswald's collection of photos with the scratches on it. And there is Marina with little Junie, and Junie is spraying her mommy with a hose, water hose, and it's so cute. You can see by the foliage that it happened when Ruth Payne was there. I mean, in that she came through there and dropped off Marina on May 11th at 4905 Magazine Street, and she moved in. She stayed several days. During this period of time, Lee Oswald was going to work, so she's there by herself. But they say, oh, this picture was taken by Lee Oswald. It wasn't Ruth Payne taking the pictures with this thing. it was, it was Lee. Well, wait a minute, you can tell from the amount of sunlight and everything and the shadows that it couldn't possibly have been Lee because he was at work. So who took the photos with a Imperial reflex camera? It had to be Ruth Payne. It had to be Ruth Payne. But no, they said it was Lee, even though they don't understand that the only time you could have taken that would have been Saturday or Sunday, But wait a minute, how could that have been? Because at the same time, Lee, I don't think he ever even saw this camera. I do know who did. Michael Payne did something very interesting. He said, I saw something that nobody else did. And he was very proud of this. The police called him in on the 22nd in the evening. They had already shown Lee Oswald the backyard photo, the one that's leaning. And he said, no, that's not my body. They've pasted my head on this and I will prove it, because he knew enough about photography. Of course, he couldn't prove it because he got killed within 47 hours of his arrest. All right, so which 80 minutes after the assassination, they said that Lee Oswald was the only one that they had to look for. J. Edgar Hoover, by the end of, before it was midnight of the 22nd, said to his people in Dallas, I don't want you to look anywhere else. True suspect has been apprehended, So they knew, and also we have the police report of Lee's arrest at the Texas Theater made out at 1:40, all right, p.m., which is 5 minutes before he was arrested. But let's forget about that, okay? So this is made out saying that he killed Kennedy and that he shot Connally. And this is before any kind of investigation was done, and that was filled out. So Lee Oswald is hauled off, and of course they did horrible things to him that you'll never know, because a lot of it was emotional. They said, we never physically abused him. Why didn't they say they never abused him? They said, we never physically abused him. All right. But here's the point. When Lee is, after he's been arrested and all that, they come up and show him the backyard photo, and he said that I didn't do that. Michael Payne actually told the Warren Commission, it's right there in his depositions and everything. Oh yes, on the 22nd, the police showed me the photo, the backyard photo, the same one that they showed Lee. And he said, I recognize the address. See, one of the things, how are you going to prove where that picture was taken to put Lee Oswald in that? 8 months after this photo was taken, Michael Payne, who had been there only twice, okay, to Elspeth Street residence, said, I recognize that because of the thin clapboard, the siding on the house, of which he could see about 2 feet. Okay, and from that, he correctly gave them the address of the front of where this was located, out of pure memory, right? Okay. And so the police went there and took pictures in the backyard, and you see the police, with holding a gun and all that kind of thing in the same backyard. And boy, I mean, Michael Payne has a fantastic memory, even though he couldn't remember a whole bunch of things that Lee and he did together. He said he didn't even like Lee, but he takes Lee to the ACLU meetings. He takes him to a Walker meeting. He takes him to other meetings, but he doesn't like him. Right. Okay. Now, why I'm stressing this about Michael Payne seeing this backyard photo on the 22nd is that officially Gus Rose found the backyard photos in Lee's sea bag in the garage on the 23rd, the morning of the 23rd. That's on the record, even though the other stuff is on the record. Now, I don't know about you, but usually if a photo is found, it meant it was originally there. In this case, what is going on? Well, we have the clue from Marguerite Oswald. Marguerite had to spend the night at the Payne residence because then they went later to the Flags Hotel or whatever it was. But the point is that first night on the 22nd, she is there with Marina. She's lying on the couch because that's all that's left. She's trying to sleep. You imagine the poor woman who's made fun of, and they've been really cruel to Marguerite Oswald. Not that she was such a nice lady, but the point is that doesn't mean that she was always telling a lie or something like that. In this case, she said, I could hardly sleep. you know, my son is in jail and all that. And here it is around midnight, and she sees Michael Payne tiptoeing past her, okay? And he goes into the garage. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no reason for him to go into the garage after she could hear whispering going on in the bedroom, because the next morning is when the police find the backyard photo in Lee's sea bag, which they never found before. Imagine, they were going through this stuff before. They've already been through it, all his stuff. Suddenly, we find a backyard photo in the sea bag. And that's the photo that Michael Payne had to brag, oh, I saw it on the 22nd. And now Michael Payne is tiptoeing in to the garage on the 23rd in the middle of the night. And suddenly Gus Rose finds the backyard photos, and they also find the Minox. And Rose said, they tried to make him change it, that when the Minox was sent to the FBI, it came back as a light meter, a Minox light meter instead of a Minox camera. But Rose said, wait a minute, I took film out of it, which of course exposed the film. How can you have a light meter holding film, you know, of course that did not happen. But what we do have is the FBI releasing film that was made from Minox camera that Lee Oswald took. They say this is from Minox film. But no, they're not going to let you see the camera because of the serial number that shows it was government issue, okay? That's why you can't see it. What you can see, of course, is that somehow the backyard photo is found in the sea bag, and of course it is Lee Oswald. How many of you know that Republicans and Democrats don't like each other very much? Raise your hand if you agree with my statement. Now, there are two kinds of newspapers that were put out at that time during the Cold War in New Orleans and elsewhere. I mean, all over, really. One's by the Communist Party, basically, and the other is a more socialist group, okay? They're both communists, but they don't like each other. It's sort of like the Republicans and Democrats. The fact that he's holding both of them is the silliest thing in the world. He read both of them, but he would never, I mean, you're going to make somebody mad at you who's looking at that photo if that's really going to Communist Party. It shows both of them. That's like, can you imagine if you have a Republican and he's holding up a picture of Biden and Pelosi here, and then a picture of Trump, and you see like that. And the same thing, take a picture of me. I'm sure everybody's going to love him, seeing that he's going to divide your opinions. In other words, that was fake, and the people who put those two newspapers together didn't know enough about those two parties to understand that he would not take a picture with both of them because it would divide too many people. Just like you're not going to endorse a Republican and a Democrat in the same photograph, for heaven's sakes. But that's what they did because they're stupid, because they weren't understanding the difference between Marxist and Leninism, okay, and the basic communism. And that was the bottom line. What you do have, however, is this photograph, and a backyard photograph with the fingers cut off, ding, 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 ding. Because if you take an X-Acto knife, if you take a picture of somebody, and if you want to slide something in, you're going to have to cut with an X-Acto knife. And well, they cut off the tips of his fingers, and you can see it. I've given every one of you a picture of the backyard photo, so you can look at it for yourself. Those fingers are cut off. And why? Because they have to slip this photograph of both of them under the fingers. You see, the trouble is that Jack White took and did some analysis and found out that the pictures that they used were too big for the figure. He would only be 5'5", but they made them too big. It was a separate little picture that he slid in, and they accidentally cut off the fingers. And so you have that. The newspapers are too big for the figure that's in the photo. Or Lee Oswald shrank by 4 inches. You can take your choice, you know. All right, so what have you got there? You've got that going on. In your picture, if you take your picture out and look at it, we blew it up a little, and you can see around the foot. Look at that foot, that front foot that's sticking out there. You'll see a little bit of white at the bottom there, because when they cut that out, they did cut and show all those little grass leaves. You know, you have bits of grass is going up. Well, you'll notice all around somehow around the foot, there's a little white line. Do you see it? Because they cut that in and put it in. There's no grass coming up against his feet. There is not a blade of grass that is coming up around his shoe because that thing was just stuck in there. You see the little bit of white line around that shoe, around that front shoe? Who sees it? Can you see it? Raise your hand if you can see that little white line. Where are the grass? Where are the pieces of grass? Where's the grass? It's not there because this was inserted. This photo was inserted. Okay, I'm going to now, I don't know how much time I've got left. I hope that there's a lot more I can say. I have documents for everything I'm talking about. A lot of this is in the book called Kennedy and Oswald, The Big Picture, one of my books that was written with Edward Schwartz. And we actually put that book out real fast because he was dying of cancer. That's why there are typos in it, because it was whether he see the book in print while he's dying, or we go and fix it real pretty and then he won't see it before he's dead. So that's why there are typos. I hope I have said enough. If you have any questions, I will provide for any researcher here the documentation concerning what I've talked to you about. Any questions? Any? All right. Do you think that Lee Oswald used the Imperial reflex camera that Marina Oswald took pictures? Raise your hand if you believe Marina Oswald took pictures with this camera. Thank you. God bless you. I'm doing this because I love him, okay? And I'm not going to let him get away with it, killing off his name like this. I can't take it anymore. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Judyth Berry Baker.